As we mentioned, the adoption scheme involved mothers from the Marshall Islands.
So now let's dig deeper. Why this place? Well, there's a long, tragic history involved.
In the 40s and the 50s, the U.S. tested nuclear weapons on the Marshall Islands. The radioactive materials left behind caused health problems. Even today, some of the islands are uninhabitable. To make up for that, in 1986, the U.S. compensated the islands financially and opened its borders to Marshallese immigrants, allowing them to work in the U.S. without a visa. According to an article in the New Republic, in the 1990s, there was a surge in international adoptions. With relaxed visas, the Marshall Islands became somewhat of an easy place to adopt children. But in 2001, a study done by BYU found that 87% of Marshallese mothers who gave up their children for adoption believed their children would return home once they reached 18. It's common practice in the islands for others to help raise children. It's like adding another family in marriage. The families join and stay in touch. The adoptions in the U.S. are closed, with many of the mothers never to see their children again. To try and stop this, the Marshall Islands Adoption Act of 2002 made it illegal to solicit a baby for adoption through financial incentive. Now all adoptions must be completed inside the country and approved by its courts. After these allegations surfaced, several parents who have adopted children are voicing their concerns.
With often little knowledge of their adopted child's biological parents, many parents are left to wonder, was my son or daughter trafficked before I adopted them? So Cronkite News dug even deeper. Local Arizonan mom Julie Todd Brokaw knew she wanted to adopt when she was just 19 years old.
Biggest worry was you'd see these stories where the family wants the kid back and courts were overturning the adoptive rights, and so this poor child was being returned home to people they didn't actually know but were their biological family. And I knew right then I wanted no part of that. And so that's the reason we pursued the international adoption route.
Brokaw adopted her son from Seoul, Korea almost 23 years ago. She says that it cost her about $5,000 for the entire process.
Since then, that same exact adoption would be a much more expensive price.
She says that she never worried about if her son was trafficked, but said other parents may be.
You know, the normal wonderings were, maybe my parent was wealthy or famous. Maybe that movie star is my mom or dad, you know, where now it's like, oh my word, what if I was human trafficked?
Brokaw says prospective adoptive parents need to gather the most information that they can.
It is definitely a hard situation for families looking to expand their family that way with all the pitfalls, but I think just being really educated and knowing and really doing your research and speaking to people firsthand. And if someone says, you know, it's always like, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Still, information can be hard to come by.
We base so much truth on what we can read and find online, and then you're so judged and critiqued if you don't know that it's not the truth. But it's like, how can you know sometimes?
To try and prevent illegal adoptions, international regulations were established in 1993 by members of the Hague Convention.
Several countries have included illegal adoptions in their anti-trafficking legislation, but the U.S. has not.